Let's look at some more teams' projected starters and rotations for opening night. It's the 2:40 game, and it's Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and in my spare time, I work as a bartender at the Woolly Bay Hotel. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Basketball is brought to you by FanDuel. Get started with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Go to FanDuel.com right now to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and we are available on all platforms. I don't do this very often. But we are a few days away from the start of the NBA season, so if you've got a draft coming up, Basketball Monster subscriptions, it runs through the whole season. Draft tracker, projections updated multiple times a day with any news, daily projections, customizable to whatever your league format is. Points leagues, category leagues, roto leagues. Introduce weightings, my Durant metric, Bazemore Dynasty stuff, robust player comments sections, individual daily projections for each individual stat that is based on the matchups and all that sort of stuff. We do that. Also, if you want to make sure you're supporting this show, subscribe. Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and on YouTube as well. I want to hit that 100K version eventually. I want that silver play button. But let's just keep the thumbs and the subscribes and all that stuff going. If you are new to the show, there is so much stuff. What we do preseason is awesome, but what we do in season is better, more valuable maybe. We'll see. But anyway, I don't say that stuff very often, but that's your once or twice yearly call to check out some of the stuff that I do. Yesterday we did this, and we are going to get all these done. I don't know when they're all going to come out, but they'll be coming out very, very soon. As we look through teams and projected opening night rotations and starting lineups and all that sort of stuff, playing the 2:40 game. And even yesterday, I did two teams. And I said these will change all the time. And I did the Mavericks and the Bulls yesterday. And someone said, won't Julian Phillips get those Torrey Craig minutes? I went, yep, you know what? You're probably right. Julian Phillips looks pretty solid as a backup guy, and he'll get those minutes. And then I had Spencer Dinwiddie in the Mavs rotation. I'm not sure they will. He's been absolutely terrible in the preseason, so maybe Jaden Hardy gets some of those minutes. But this stuff is all very much open to change, and this is important, this stuff, because whenever you make a comment about this guy's going to do this, and I'm going to grab this player because it's going to be awesome, and we're going to talk about the Houston Rockets today, so get ready for that. The 2:40 game. On a game-by-game basis, there are 240 minutes available for a team to use, and a coach uses 10 players, sometimes 9. So when you're waiting for this breakout, when you're waiting for this guy to do this, they have to come from somewhere. And in nearly every case, it is impossible. And it's part of the reason why when I'm looking at things like ESPN's rankings, for example, and we look at the rankings of the Warriors players, and I go, none of this makes sense because they can't all do this and get enough minutes. Or the Mavericks guys where Clay and PJ Washington are ranked in the 70s. I go, how do they get enough touches and minutes, and how does all this stuff work? Because it doesn't, really. So when you are, and the Rockets is another great example of that, when they've got all these guys absolutely sky high through the roof, and I go, okay, how does it all fit? So let's play the 2:40 game. You can play along with me, and if you disagree with one of the rotations, understand that if you are putting someone to more minutes, somebody else is dropping down. That's where all of this stuff comes from. So let's get into it. Yesterday we left off by talking about the Dallas Mavericks, so let's go to the Denver Nuggets. I think the Nuggets starting lineup will be this. I don't know that it'll hold like this all season, but Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. Murray, it's still a little bit, I don't know what's happening with his knees. Is he going to miss time? He might. He might not be ready for opening night. Honestly, that is possible for Jamal Murray. I think he'll be fine, the headmaster, but he's obviously looked terrible, and I wouldn't draft him inside the top 50. I think Christian Brown gets first crack at replacing Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, but I also don't think Christian Brown plays Kentavious Caldwell-Pope 31 minutes. I've got him at 27, and he could easily lose that spot. I've got Michael Porter Jr., the Poop Cookie at 32, and Aaron Gordon at 31. Dr. Michael Malone doesn't like to extend those guys with big minutes, and there are enough capable players in the second unit to be able to help them out, not play those bigger minutes, but that could get higher. And I've got Big Chungus Nikola Jokic at 34. Now, obviously, this entire team wore down last season, and Jokic played in the Olympics, so maybe they go a little bit easier on his minutes. That is a possibility, but I don't know. At the moment, I've got the Nuggets just rolling with a 9-man rotation. I've got Russell Westbrook getting 25 minutes off the bench. I've got Julian Strawther playing 22. Now, Strawther could easily take over from Christian Brown and play 27 minutes there. I would say he is comfortably, offensively, outplayed Brown in the preseason. Defensively, Brown still does some stuff, but I think Brown is using the kids' definition of this term, Brown is very mid. He's very low upside. And I think Strawther is a lot more higher upside, a lot more similar, especially offensively, to KCP. And I don't really know if any of them are 12-team league guys, but that's one to watch. I've got Peyton Watson as a 20-minute-a-night player. He can play minutes for Michael Porter. He can play minutes for Aaron Gordon. He can play small ball center, although he probably won't that much. And then I've got Dario Saric at 15 minutes. The other guy I could have put in as the 10th player could have been Zeke Naji, could have been Vlatko Cancar, but I think that Malone, whose Nuggets have been bad in the preseason, and he's been pretty upset about it. I think and I am going to do, for people asking, season award predictions and win total shows. I am going to do that just after we get all this fantasy stuff out of the way. I think that they are in a little bit of trouble, the Nuggets. I've got Saric playing 15 minutes as Nikola Jokic's backup, but those other guys can get in. This next team is annoying. They've been annoying for a long time for many different reasons, and they're annoying for a different reason this season. It is the Detroit Pistons' new coach, new front office, JB Bickerstaff, usually runs higher minutes and tighter rotations. I'm not sure what he's going to do with this, but this is unfortunately what I think they're going to start with. I think it's Cade Cunningham playing 35 minutes. JB loves to give those big minutes to his primary guy, and that is Cade. I think Jaden Ivey will start, and I do have him at 29 minutes, but I'm not certain on that. I don't think he goes lower than that, but he could push to 32. Like I have detailed, and I will detail for years and years and years on this show. Jaden Ivey has been great, but the two hidden stats in fantasy basketball, and they're sort of hidden, but they're not always hidden, but they're hidden. 3-point percentage and 2-point percentage. They can combine for field goal percentage, which is a category, obviously. But if someone's got a sky-high 3 and a very low 2, and it makes their field goal percentage look mid, you might not see it. But like Ivy was hitting, was it 70% from 2 and 55% from 3? Numbers which could easily drop by 20% each, 20 percentage points each. And I published an article on Basketball Monster yesterday just listing the guys who are shooting at unbelievable clips who will not be able to do it. And a lot of the names are the names at the top that you're seeing get the social media highlight reel bias. Like Ivy, like Tishan Salin, like Trey Mann. There's so many of these guys that are shooting well above what they do. Ivy's one of them. He looks good. Fred Vinson may have helped, and we can have that argument. And that's not my argument against Ivy, because someone said, yeah, but I believe Fred Vinson's helped. Maybe. It's really short term. I don't care who Fred Vinson is. He did not turn Jaden Ivey into a 55% shooter. Nobody did. It's impossible. It will not ever happen, ever. And even if Fred Vinson turned him from a 34% guy into a 39, or say 40, that's great. It's not 55. And that is important for all of this stuff. Me saying that they're shooting over their head does not mean that I think they're going to be bad. It just means that what they're doing is going to get cut unbelievably. And that will happen to Jaden. I think unbelievably, I think they're going to start Tim Hardaway Jr. In one of the more underrated worst trades that we've seen recently, they traded Quentin Grimes and got Tim Hardaway in a couple of seconds back. Ridiculous. Grimes is going to play a big role for Dallas. Hardaway is bad. He shot bad. I think they're going to start him. It could be Malik Beasley. I don't think it will be. It could be Simone Fontecchio, and it should be. But the vibe that I'm getting is Tim Hardaway. Do not draft Tim Hardaway. I've got him at 24 minutes. So not like full starters minutes, but that could easily push up. He's been putrid. But the reverse of Jaden Ivey, he's not going to be a 10% shooter, which I think is what he's shooting from 3. So that will bump up. Although, Tim has a lot of those stretches. At power forward, this one's locked in. It's Tobias Harris, the thick Hogsman at 34 minutes. And I think Jalen Duren gets 29 as the starting center. Maybe he plays more, but I think 29 feels about right to me for him to start at center. For the reserves, I've got Isaiah Stewart playing 19 minutes. That gives the full 48 at center behind Duren. I've got Malik Beasley at 20. I've got Rugged Ronnie Holland, the second, with 19 minutes. I've got Simone Fontecchio with 22, and I've got Marcus Sasser with 9. Now, I'd made this graphic, and then I made some other ones later on and changed up how it looked, but I don't have Asar Thompson there because I am very, very close to certain that he will not play opening night. And Asar maybe is the starter over Tim Hardaway once he gets back, but he's not cleared. He's not available to play. So Sasser would drop out of that rotation. Holland and Beasley would probably lose some minutes, and Asar would probably sit low 20s, I'm guessing. We all love Asar Thompson, but I just don't think he's going to be ready. I don't think he's going to be available. I think it's going to be a bit of a slow ramp up. Plus, there's a glut. It's Hardaway, it's Beasley, it's Fontecchio, it's Thompson, it's Holland. So I see him get drafted sometimes in round 10, and I don't like it. But I don't think that Asar Thompson is going to be ready for opening night. I don't think that'll be the case. We're going to find out, obviously, but I don't think that'll be the case. Today's episode is brought to you by Hims. Guys, intimate moments, they can happen spontaneously. You never know what's going to be happening. You might be just minding your own business and the mood strikes. But, maybe there've been some problems in the past. You've got to make sure you are ready to get into action, to spring into action. Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and can last longer, giving you the boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Hims changes men's healthcare, providing you access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims does provide access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints, Viagra, Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. They've got hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers. Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. So start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That is HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. Hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. All right, let's take a look at the next team, and that is one that I hate. I don't hate the Warriors for those Warriors fans out there. I know there's two massive fans of this. I don't say fans. I don't like saying that someone's a fan of me. It sounds so icky. Two people who watch this show, right, and interact with this show a lot that are big Warriors fans. Shout out to Yuri and to Clarence. I don't know if Clarence is his real name. I know Yuri is, and you've seen Yuri on here, Cats in Oakland. By the way, check out her and Kayla's new podcasts, Bitches Be Balling, two women who are trying to do more for women in fantasy basketball, starting a podcast. Check that show out. Anyway, they are both Golden State Warriors fans. And Yuri actually commented on one of the shows, man, can't wait to see you do my Warriors, because what the hell is this? What the hell are these lineups? And I've said this all through the offseason, all through the preseason. There's too many good players, not enough great players. I think, with no confidence, that they will start this lineup. Steph Curry, 34 minutes. Wow, Josh, you went out on a limb. Yes, Steph is going to start. He's going to play good minutes. I think Brandon Podziemski will start, but I've got him at 30 minutes. Another unbelievable example of do not believe the garbage that gets thrown away through media day. 8 to 10 threes a game. Bro might take that in a week. It's not happening. I don't mind him as a late flyer, but we need to be cautious with it. I think the bucket, John Kuminga, will start, but I don't think he's necessarily getting big minutes. Now, they need his shot creation. He struggles in some other areas like assists and defensive stats. He's also one of those players I think is shooting 60% from three in the preseason, so be careful. But I think he gets 30 minutes, but he might not. This Warriors team had no one getting 30 minutes last season apart from Steph. And they got deeper. I've got Draymond at power forward getting 28. He could start at center in some matchups. They're playing, I think, Portland in their first game. And then I've got Trace Jackson-Davis playing 21 minutes as the starting center. If Jackson-Davis gets 25 minutes, 24 minutes, he is a very, very clear top 100 player. 21 is on the borderline. 17 is not there. And I don't know what they're going to do, because when we go through and look at the bench groups, look at the players on this group. I got Buddy Hield at 21 minutes. Now, I think there's zero chance that Buddy Hield plays 30 minutes, but ESPN's rankings think he does. They got him 65th overall or whatever it is. But I don't see how he gets enough playing time. I've got DeAnthony Melton at 22. I love DeAnthony Melton. How the hell does he play enough to be useful on a fully healthy team? I've got Andrew Wiggins at 28, who, as you well know, I am the biggest Andrew Wiggins fan in the world. That's why I always draft him in mock drafts, because I only draft players that I like, not because of value or how it makes sense in my team. Never. It's only because of guys that I glaze. That's all I do. Absolutely nothing else. Someone had an unbelievably ridiculous comment about me the other day, replying, man, why do you glaze this guy? All fantasy analysts just love all the guys that get low turnovers. I go, thanks for never, ever listening to anything that I've ever said in my life. Because, yeah, that's obviously what I do. I only talk about the players and value them high because of low turnovers. You've nailed me. Absolutely knocked it out of the park. Wiggins at 28. Like, Wiggins plays 32 minutes. He's probably a top 100 player, but again, play the 240. How? Who goes less? Does Podziemski play 26? Does Kuminga play 27? Does Hield play 18? Does Kyle Anderson or Kevon Looney not play? That, I guess, is possible. I've got Looney at just 10 minutes. So with a lot of small ball Draymond at center, I actually think you can run Kuminga at center, to be honest, for some stretches, but we'll see. And I've got Kyle Anderson at 16, who can also play a little bit of center, but he could also get 26 minutes a night. They are too good of these unbelievably interesting role players, solid pieces that you want, but not enough top-end guys, which is going to make the rotation. And Steve Kerr pioneers the foreseeable future lineup that he changes 20 times in a row. So this is going to be frustrating. You feel good with Steph. I feel good with Draymond. I don't feel good with anybody else. I feel sort of good with Kuminga, but I don't. I don't feel good with any of them. The next one is the one that I've highlighted a lot, and that's Houston. When talking about those ESPN rankings where they put numerous Rockets players sky high. And I even said this in the mock the other day, and I don't want this to get twisted. And I'll talk about that in a second. The lineup I think they'll start with, without any question, is Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith, and Alperen Sengun. Lock in Fred VanVleet. He played 37 minutes a night last season. I still think he plays 36. He is that good. He is that good. I know you don't value. I know a lot of people don't value him. He is that good. He will play 36 minutes. It might be 35, right? It might be, but he's playing a lot. Sengun, I've got at 33. That could be in some games 30 when Ime Udoka says, "Oh, your defense is terrible." That's possible. I've got Jabari Smith at 31, and that one I'm not really certain of. That one might actually push down to 29. Hence why when Jabari was going in the 80s, I was like, brother, I don't think I want to do it. And I think that could pull back. I've got Jalen Green at 30, the best rim finisher in the league, and I've got Dylan Brooks at 28. It is very easy when you are playing the 240 game with the Rockets to hate Dylan Brooks. I get it. I understand why you would hate Dylan Brooks. When you're playing the 240 game, you could easily say, well, they'll just play Fred VanVleet. He's not a part of their future. They'll play him 30 minutes a night. That just won't happen, right? I'm very confident that won't happen. It's very easy to say, well, they need to just move on from Brooks and put somebody else in there, so Dylan will play 18 minutes. Also, really confident that that won't happen. But that is where I know that if you're trying to manipulate the 240 to suit what you want, that is what you would do. I'm not ruling that out. I'm not saying Dylan Brooks is good. I don't think he's that good. But I'm also not expecting him to just all of a sudden become a 17-minute-a-night Jayshawn Tate. I don't think that's going to happen. So I've only got Jalen at 30. I've only got Dylan Brooks at 28. And then when we flip over to see the reserves, you'll see the problem that causes. I've got a Men Thompson playing 24 minutes a night. And I said this in one of the mock drafts the other day when he started going like round 8, round 9. I went, I don't know about this. Now, this does not mean that I am against a Men Thompson. And I know that it can be hard with every comment that I make, and I talk a lot, but I would have hoped that a lot of the stuff that I say, there's a consistent theme through, and I feel like I'm really consistent with it. I love Amen Thompson. I think he's awesome. I love him as a player. My concern if someone takes him at pick 90 when I go, ooh, it's not that I think it's a bad pick. It's not that I think he's a bad player. It's like, how does he return that value or even exceed it given the squish of minutes? Because even with Jalen at 30, Brooks at 28, I've got a men at 24, and even look at those other minutes, they're so low. So how does he play and play way more than that? And I love him. And yeah, would I play him over Dylan Brooks? Yeah, of course I would. But I don't know if Ime Udoka is going to do that. I can't go into a season having that confidence. I've got Reed Shepherd playing 14 minutes. The guy that many think is the favourite for Rookie of the Year. How? How does he play more? Again, who loses? Fred VanVleet played 30 minutes? Seems not likely. Jalen Green played 22? Not going to happen. You can't have both Amen and Reed pushing to 27 minutes a night. It doesn't work without injuries. It doesn't work. Now, maybe 14, and this is, again, for opening night as well. Maybe Reed at 14 is just a low number. But to get him up, giggity, hims, someone else has to go back. And who is it? I've got Tari Eason, Tari third season, Tari not this season. I've got him at 18 minutes because where does he play? Yeah, maybe Jabari does play 28 minutes, so Tari gets to 21. But then, you know who else can put their hand up? Cam Whitmore and go, can I have a couple of those? Can I have some minutes? Because I've got him at 12, Cam Whitmore. There's no minutes for Jayshawn Tate here. None. So, like, I've got Steven Adams at 14. And Steven Adams could play 20 minutes. He probably shouldn't, because that would mean Sengun plays 28. But it means also no minutes for Jabari Smith at center, meaning that Smith has to play all of his minutes at power forward, meaning that limits Eason and Whitmore, which then pushes down, and that means if they're going to play, they play at the 3, which then limits a man, and everything is squished. This team is good. So if you are confident that Reed Shepherd's playing 26 minutes, play the 240 game. How do you do it? And I know your answer will be, I will play Fred 30 and Dylan Brooks 20, and I just don't think that is real. But you might, and that is okay. But that is my skepticism around those players, not about their lack of skill, not about their lack of talent. It's about how does that realistically play out. And realistically, I don't think it does. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. You can start whatever season you want, the NFL season, the NBA season, because it's not really the start of the NFL season, let's be fair. But you can start it with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. In the middle of the game, stuff is going on. You get a hunch, a feeling, a vibe. So you can open up the FanDuel app, you can see where all the bets are. You can have a look at all the options. And instead of having to go to a different page or open a different app or get your laptop going and be rolling Joe Dumas style with 2 phones to see everything, all of the stats is right there on that same page on the FanDuel app with all the stats of the game. You got the live play-by-play there as well. So all the information that you need sits in the palm of your hand. Unbelievable. What technology that we have. If you are a new customer to FanDuel, you just got to place your first $5 bet as well. And they will give you $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Guaranteed. $200 bonus bets. So head across to FanDuel.com. Check out all the odds they've got. They've got the section there on season leaders. And, I don't know if I'll do this, but this is an ad, so many of you might have skipped over this. I hope you haven't, because FanDuel's awesome. But when I do my season predictions and awards and win totals, should I look at these like NBA season stat leaders odds and have a look at that? Now, Luka's favored to lead the league in points per game at plus 145. Will I take a look at that? I think I might. Anyway, FanDuel, don't forget to gamble responsibly. So the Rockets and the Warriors, possibly, outside of the Pelicans, 2 of the hardest teams to do this game for. Let's go to the Indiana Pacers, where it's not really as hard, but there are still question marks that need to be answered. I have got their starting group as pretty locked in. Tyrese Halliburton, I've got at 33 minutes. Andy Nembhard at 31. Aaron Nesmith at 27. Pascal Shaquem at 33. And Miles Turner at 28. Nesmith's one of those ones that with turnovers on and a 9-cat ranking, he'll make you think that you want to take him in round 10, and you do not. Do not do it. Do not draft him. There is no point at all. He might become, in fact, this season, my new Harrison Barnes. The guy that looks like he could be a 12-team league player, but honestly is not. I don't think he's going to play enough. There are too many other bodies on this team now. Even Nembhard at 31. Andrew Nembhard in the playoffs without Halliburton was great. Andrew Nembhard in the regular season without Halliburton sucked. I don't mind a late pick of him, but also, I don't think I've been particularly impressed with some of his preseason stuff. And there's just a lot of other names. Much like when talking about the Rockets, we can look at Nembhard and go, yeah, he's going to ascend. They paid him this contract. But there's 2 other guards on this bench who are actually important to this team. One of them is Benedict Mathurin, who I think 25 minutes sounds about right. He gets the line well, he scores and creates his own shot. He was the starter last season and then got hurt. And the other one's TJ McConnell, a guy that honestly, at times, was like their 3rd best player. Unbelievably high efficiency player, really good defensively and with assists. But for Nembhard to have value, that means TJ doesn't play. Because Nembhard probably needs that time controlling the ball, and he doesn't really get that. So when we're talking about what Nembhard can do, and Mathurin and McConnell, these guys all get minutes. They all have to get minutes. I've got Obi Toppin at 17 minutes. Toppin was, again, one of those players. Total 9-cat rankings. He looked like he was a draftable guy. I think 90 he ranked, which, of course, is insane. He started last season as a starter, got benched for Nesmith. He is an efficiency player, and he's useful in little chunks of games where they've got nice schedules, but that's it. I've got Isaiah Jackson at 15 minutes, so not getting all of the backup center minutes behind Miles Turner. I don't think there's any concern with James Wiseman getting that time. Jackson's a block streamer. If Turner plays 27 minutes, conceivably, it is conceivable that Jackson plays 21. But I do think that obviously that means that no Toppin or no Siakam plays at center. The other one I've got there is Jarris Walker, and that could easily be Ben Shepherd. I've got Walker playing 14 minutes. I think they would love for Walker to be able to take over from Aaron Nesmith. He's just a bit bigger. He handles the ball a little bit better. But he's a long way off that. But I do think they'll get an opportunity for Walker to be in the rotation. But again, that could easily just be Ben Shepherd there, because Ben Shepherd played playoff minutes and had some solid enough moments. Another rotation that's tricky. Here we go. The LA Clippers. Now, I did put this on the thumbnail, and I probably should have teased it a little bit earlier on, but Kawhi Leonard is out. And if you've been following this show all through the preseason, you have known that my statement on Kawhi has been, do not draft him in round 1 or round 2 or round 3. My initial thing was maybe round 4. And then I went, no, I'm not touching him inside the top 50, and I'm here to apologize to you guys, and I was wrong. Because you shouldn't draft him, I don't think, inside the top 100 at this point. Because in a report that isn't a surprise to anybody, Shams came out today and said Kawhi Leonard will not be ready for opening night, and he will be out indefinitely as they work to get a treatment program going for his sustainability in basketball. There is no way this man touches 60 games or 50 games this season. There is no way. I do not think that... I drafted him in one league at like 56, and I regret it. I don't think that it's going to work. And I am out, and I don't want to have been proven correct, but I have been so far. So Kawhi Leonard is out indefinitely, and this franchise lies about his knee continually. I retweeted it today. You can go check it out about the ins and outs of him and how often he was in, and then he was actually fine Team USA camp. I don't know why they cut him. He's so fine. He's so fine at Team USA camp that he's not ready to play 4 months later. He must have been unbelievable because he had the procedure, which I believe was before Team USA camp. But of course they won't tell us. And I don't even know what the procedure was. And he's still not ready. So everyone is lying all over the place about Kawhi. I don't know what to do with this. I do know. I'm just not drafting him at all. I will not draft him. And I was so stupid to draft him in that 56 pick. When I knew in my heart that okay, there's a bit, maybe he comes back. Oh, I'm an idiot. So dumb to have done that. The only positive that is it is a games cap league. It's the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl, and I got him in the 5th round. But bloody hell, man. So Kawhi's out. So this is what I think the opening night starting lineup will look like. Jim Harden, 35. I have been on the Jim Harden first round bandwagon the whole way through. So as soon as people hear this Kawhi Leonard news, they go, man, what do you do with Jim Harden now? Do you bump him up? Like, no, I've got him in the first round already. I had him 10 or 11 already. If you want to go to 8, go for it. Totally fine. I've had him there the whole way through. Norman Powell is, and we talked about this last week on the show as well, Norman Powell is going to start irrespective of Kawhi being back or not. I've got him at 32 minutes. Now, Powell in the past has gotten by for fantasy in shooting a really high percentage from 3 and getting a lot of steals. I don't think he's going to get a lot of steals, but what he does do now is get more minutes and more usage. So he'll be like I don't even know the sort of player I'm trying to think of. It's a scoring player who scores a lot, probably gets pretty good efficiency, but doesn't really do anything else. No rebounds, no assists. I think low steals, low blocks. Doesn't really get to the line a ton either. There's value in that, but he's not going to blow through everyone. He needs to be picked up in every single league, Norman Powell. He should be drafted, but he's not a robust fantasy player. I've got him at 32. I think Terrence Mann will be the player who starts for Kawhi. I've got Terrence Mann at 30, and let me be very, very clear. I don't care. I do not think that Terrence Mann is a 12-team league player. He might give you a Neesmith, 10, 5, 2, with 0.1 turnovers, and you think that's a great line, and it isn't. I would not draft him. We'll get to the other guy later, don't worry. I've got Derek Jones at 30 minutes a night. I don't know that he plays 30 minutes a night. I also know I don't want to draft him. I've got Zubats also at 30 minutes a night. Actually, I'm looking at that Derek Jones one. Do I actually have him at 30 minutes a night? It feels like it's a bit higher than I had him. I'm going to go double check my projections on that because, again, things change all the time. Do I actually have him at 30? No, I do have him at 30. There you go. I'm not sure if that's going to stick when players return, but at the moment, I've got him at 30. And I've got Zubats at 30. Now, Ty Lue has refused to play Zubats 30 minutes. He's refused in the past, but he doesn't really have a choice. Jim Harden and him have an unbelievable pick-and-roll combination. The backup sucks. It's Mo Bamba. Zubats is, and I say this with absolutely zero hyperbole, he is, if it's Zubats, is the Clippers' second best player. I'm not counting Kawhi. Zubats is the team's second best player. He needs to play those extra minutes. He needs to. You draft him early. He needs to play those minutes. The reserve group. I've got cousin Kevin Porter at 26 minutes. Now, there really isn't anyone on this team who can dribble, apart from Harden. So Porter has to play a role. So he'll be actually, that's not true, because there's Chris Dunn in his second unit too. But Porter, according to Lord Murray, who's the one who told us about the Norman Powell stuff, he said that the Clippers expect Porter to be suspended. The NBA is still doing an investigation into him. I have no idea when that would be, or if that would be. Or, what happens? I think my guess would be, if Porter does get suspended, it's 10 games, is my guess. Miles Bridges got the 30-game one with 20 games already served, so maybe they do the same thing and say, well, because you didn't play in, which is crazy because he played overseas, but yeah, because you didn't play in the NBA, we'll give you 30 but 20 already served. I could see that happening for Porter if that's what they find. But I don't know when that's going to happen. Porter can really struggle with field goals and free throw percentage. He's not usually a good defensive guy, but they need a passer. They need a ball guy, Jesus Christ, that's not the right word. Someone who can work on ball and can distribute, and he's probably going to have to be that. If he plays 30 minutes a night, he's very clearly a must-roster guy, but I do think that they will go to Mann and Jones getting that bump over Porter, who I still think will be a bench guy, but I've got no problem if you want to add Kevin Porter. If you don't want to add Kevin Porter because you think that he bashed his misses and you don't want that on your team, your choice. I'm not telling you what to do with that. It is totally your choice. I don't know the details of the story because they changed. That's what the NBA have been investigating. That is completely up to you what you want to do with that. But in terms of just where he plays, I think it's 26 at the moment. I've got Batum at 18. I've got Chris Dunn at 15. Now, if Porter only plays 22 and they want more defense and ball handling, then Dunn could push to 21. And 21 of Chris Dunn means steal streaming. I've got Bumber at 14 because I think he's bad. And I've got Kobe Brown at 10. Now, that last spot could easily be Jordan Miller. The other one that I know people are going to ask for is Kai Jones, who I think was bad before he was drafted, has been bad in the NBA. I think he had one really good preseason game and he sucked in the other ones. But it is worth remembering, Kai Jones currently is not on the roster. Kai Jones has a non-guaranteed NBA deal and they have 15 guaranteed contracts. So there are two ways about this for Kai. They can cut somebody, PJ Tucker, they trade him away and open up a roster spot, which they haven't done, or they turn Kai Jones into their third two-way player, which of course leads to that limit of games that they can play with 50. And it still would mean, I think, that Kai Jones would be the third string center. And yeah, Kai Jones could play at power forward a bit, I guess. But I also just don't think he's very good. He did have a really good game in the preseason, but also sucked in the other ones. But before you get too excited about Kai, he is not on the roster at the time of me recording this. He is if they're going to cut somebody, it is him. They can make him a two-way guy. They could cut a guaranteed contract to get him on, but he's non-guaranteed. He's the 16th man. He is not on the roster at the moment, Kai Jones. It's a lot of talk on Kai Jones. Kobe Brown's one to watch. He can sort of fill it up. I'd be sort of just watching that a little bit. Let's go to my favorite team, the Los Angeles Lakers. I think their starting group is relatively stable here. D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves I've got at 33 minutes. I've got LeBron at 35 and I've got Anthony Davis at 36. We don't know JJ Redick's plan necessarily. LeBron could play 33, Davis could play 34. That is possible if Redick wants to spread it out a little bit. But I do think they're going to have to lean heavily on those players. I think, well, we know that JJ Redick has said this in the last podcast that Zach Lowe did for ESPN. He told us that Rui Hachimura was going to be the other starter. Now, I don't like Rui Hachimura as a player. Obviously, I think he's completely overrated. In fact, that's not true, because I think most people realize now that he's not that good. But they are one of 4 teams that play opening night, and he's going to start opening night. And when you're looking for someone on your waiver wire, and you want to take someone in the last round of your draft because you get them there to play that opening night, then Rui can be that. He might have 16 points on 50% shooting with 4 rebounds. That's okay. But we don't want to hold that long term. The question with the Lakers gets to their bench unit because, man, what is going on here? I've got Dalton Connect at 16 minutes. Connect had, I think he's had, one of his percentages is unbelievably high in the preseason. The other one's unbelievably low. He's a scorer who's a little bit undersized to play the 3, I think, who doesn't really defend well. And I guess there's a chance that he could overtake Rui Hachimura as a starter at some point. I'm just not as high on him. And I think his 16 minutes is about right. Max Christie, 20 minutes. If Max Christie played 30 minutes, I'd be interested in 12s. But I'm not. I've got Gabe Vincent playing 16. He played like 11 games last season. I think I've got him as a 16-minute player opening night. And I've got Jackson Hayes playing 12. But I also do not expect that Jared Vanderbilt plays opening night. And Christian Wood is going to be out opening night. So I don't think Hayes is going to be in the rotation when Wood is back. Well, actually, he might be. Maybe Wood's not in the rotation. And Vanderbilt would have to take somebody else out. Now, for opening night, I think that the Lakers will get this out of the way immediately. And they will play LeBron James Jr., 10 minutes on opening night, and then he will go back to the G League. They'll get the moment, the shot of him and LeBron together. They share the court. Bronny's in there, and then that'll be it. It'll be over. Otherwise, that expectation, when's it going to happen? When are you going to play him together? When's Bronny going to get there? He might be bad. You might think he sucks. Whatever. I don't care. I think he's going to play about 10 minutes on opening night, and then he will be out of the rotation. Would be my guess. But that's where I'm at with the Bronny stuff at the moment. The last thing we're going to do in this show is the Memphis Grizzlies, and they're also banged up at the moment. Ja Morant is out in preseason with an ankle problem. I don't think there's any concern about him playing, though. I've got him at 35 minutes. I've got Bane at 34, and I've got Marcus Smart at 30, who offensively dropped off a lot. Defensively, he was still pretty good, but I'd say his position's in a little bit iffy, but it's secure because of the guys they've got out. Jaren Jackson's dealing with a hamstring injury. The belief is that he can be ready for opening night, so I do have him in there at 33 minutes, but he also could come in and play 29 in the opening night just to be careful with the hamstring. And I've got Zach Edey at 21. Now, if Jaren plays like 29, I can see Edey pushing to 24, 25. Just Zach Edey put some really good numbers up in preseason, absolutely. He looks fine. I really don't know what's going to happen in the regular season. I'm still down on him compared to others, but I'm also like he has done better than I expected in the in the preseason so far. So I'm happy to be wrong on that. He could be, and we'll talk about Rookie of the Year in another show coming up. Maybe he is that guy. I don't think he is, but I think he's going to start, and he's fine to draft. I wouldn't be going into the 70s to draft him, but he is fine to draft. I'm not sure that he gets full 30 minutes a night as a starter. And then their bench is where we get to some more problems because there's 3 guys who'd be part of their rotation who aren't available. G.G. Jackson's got a broken foot. He'll be out for a few months. Vince Williams has a stress reaction in his shin. He's going to be out probably mid-November, I guess, December. And the other one is Luke Kennard, who's dealing with a foot problem, and they said there's no timetable, so he's not going to play. So those 3 guys would be in the rotations, and I don't think they would. I don't think they will be opening night. So I've got Santi Aldama at 22 and Brandon Clark at 20. Also, another reminder about that with Zach Edey is that Aldama and Clark are good players. And they provide different things that Edey does. So I don't think that we're getting 33 Jaren, 33 Zach, and then Clark and Aldama play 15 each. I don't think that's realistic at all. That's why I've got Edey pulled back somewhat. I think because these guys are injured, Vince and Gigi, I've got Jake LaRavia playing 20 minutes. I've got Scottie Pippen playing 13 minutes as the backup to Ja Morant. And I think that Scottie, now converted off the 2-way contract, will be a regular rotation piece. But again, if Williams, Gigi, and Kennard come back, like, who else is out of the rotation? Because Aldama and Clark probably aren't. So who else is out? I don't know. And then I've got Jalen Wells getting 12 minutes. Now, Wells has been really, really good in the preseason. He shot the ball unbelievably. That will come back down. Now, that one is maybe not going to happen in the rotation. They might just go with Lil John Concha. Yay! Oh, I haven't done that for a while. Okay. John Concha could have that spot. But I'll put Jalen Wells in there for his shooting and as a straight Luke Kennard swap. But the 240 game, it's a hard game. We'll be back with other shows, look at the other teams. We'll be back with the final 3 mock drafts coming over the next day or 2. I'll be back with a live... I don't think I'll do it live, but I might. An auction draft on Saturday afternoon US time for industry pickup. The auction draft will be on the channel. That's on Saturday. And other stuff coming as well. Week 1 previews, waiver wire streaming shows, all that stuff coming to you very soon, as well as the team win predictions, award stuff, all that sort of stuff. Guys, you know what to do. You know the thumb. You know to subscribe. You know to give me not one bang, because I'm not a one bang man. I am a double banger, so you double bang me back in return. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.